What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about Darvin Ham. He is incredibly frustrating. It just seems like there are at times where he is just so far in over his head, and he just seems like he has no clue what he's doing. And it's very irritating. It's also very odd, too, because last year he was actually pretty solid, right? Like, think of the the progression between the beginning of last season and the way it ended in the last season, right? It was like, okay, he's a first year head coach. He's coming in, doesn't really have a roster. Like, the roster doesn't make any sense, really awkward. Like, it's a bunch of 6 foot guards, bunch of pieces that don't fit, don't make sense, right? But he was able to kind of keep it afloat. Okay, cool. And then it's like, okay, well, what does he look like with a real roster, right? What does he look like with real talent and actual pieces that make sense? Then you saw he starts to get Rui, and then we make the big Westbrook trade, and then get this kind of whole roster rehaul, and all of a sudden, Lakers are really good, and they start winning, and things are starting to click, and Darvin Ham is doing a much better job coaching. You're like, okay, he's starting to figure it out. Cool. We're seeing what we needed to see. And then we got into the postseason, and it was like he was great in the Grizzlies series. He was even better in the Warriors series. I mean, he was getting all kinds of praise. Man, this guy's out coaching Steve Kerr. And then we got into the Denver series, and it kind of looked like, okay, Mike Malone he out-coached him. But it was like, okay, well, what does he look like next year? We bring everybody back, right? We upgrade around the edges. This could be a very good season, right? The Lakers there's a lot of promise. Then the offseason breaks out. Darvin Ham, you're like, all right, man. Like, he's got a real roster. He's got real pieces. He's even got guys that provide some familiarity, that he's like coached with various teams, Atlanta and Milwaukee and stuff. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, this is a real team that can make some noise. And early on this season, I defended him. I said, like, dude, we're dealing with all kinds of injuries. Like, let him figure stuff out. He's trying to experiment, which I expected him to do. And then it just kept becoming a thing where it's like, okay, like, now we're past okay, we're trying to figure things out. We're trying to navigate here, right? We're trying to kind of just let things play themselves out. And now we're in the area of like, hey, we need to start coaching here. We need to start making the proper X's and O's. And one of the big things too is just, I am a big believer of, yes, coaching is important. Yes, coaching is impactful and significant, and they need to have their team prepared, but it also ultimately falls on the players. Like, the players are the ones that are playing the game. And especially early on, the players just weren't playing up to snuff. And it's still kind of a problem, right? The lack of energy, the lack of effort at times, it's very frustrating. But we win the in-season tournament. And I know some people look at it like, oh, everyone tried to win that thing. Whether you want to believe it or not, everyone did. And guess what? The Lakers won it. And we saw Darvin Ham actually be pretty decent coaching in those games, in that stretch. And we saw the Lakers really elevate and play better in those games. Like, I thought Darvin Ham did an excellent job in several of those games, especially against like that one Phoenix Suns game where we advanced. I thought he did a really good job of kind of like navigating that, figuring things out. And then especially in the Pacers game for the championship, I thought he actually did a very good job of kind of sticking with guys where he needed to stick with them, calling timeouts. Like, so you saw, like, okay, this guy can kind of do at least a serviceable job. And it's like he's gotten worse. And it's like he keeps getting worse. And it's so bizarre to me because to me, it's like, it's a very simple thing. It is very obvious what some of the things are that he's trying to like big brain here. And in a lot of ways, I feel like Darvin Ham is trying to be the biggest brain in the room, right? And sometimes the best answer is the simple answer. So simplicity sells, right? Like, sometimes you don't need to overthink things. Sometimes it's just, hey, do this, right? Great example was the game against the Nuggets. I get the idea and thinking of like, okay, let's put Cam Reddish in and see if we can slow down Jamal Murray, because Jamal Murray is going to have himself fourth quarter like he always does against us. And it would be nice to we can kind of navigate that and slow that down slightly. right? Having D'Lo, Reeves, and Rui out there might not be great for the defensive side. We heavy spam, LeBron, Reeves, and get some AD action involved. Okay, cool. I understand the thought process. He also had Spencer Dinwiddie out there, again, defensive purposes. Okay, again, I can kind of understand that. But as soon as you saw, okay, we are doing nothing to slow down Jamal Murray, but we're still in this game, we even had a lead at one point, right? As soon as that was recognized, D'Angelo Russell should have immediately been put in that game, right? If you want to try to tie game early on and you have a plan and you want to stick with the plan, okay, fine. I'll back it. Let's go, right? But you need to be willing to get off of your plan. And Darvin Ham, again, goes into the lack of awareness, the lack of making adjustments and changes. He tries to big brain rather than the simple answer. He could have easily just started with D'Lo, start with your 5 best players, go with the starting 5 that basically got you the lead early on, and live with the results, right? If it works, guess what? You win, all is right, nobody's complaining about you. If you lose, hey, I went with the guy. I went with my guys. I went with the 5 best, right? Denver just did what they did. What do you say there? But when you try to, again, do the big brain stuff and it doesn't work, guess who that falls on, right? It no longer falls on the players. It falls on the coach, right? I will defend a coach if he does the right thing. If he went with D'Lo, Reeves, Rui, LeBron, and AD, and Denver just beat us the same way, I don't think, to me, that's not necessarily the coach. That's the player. They needed to figure that out. They needed to overcome that. But when you go and you try to be cute, and it's like you don't go with your 5 guys, and you decide, hey, I'm going to try to be creative here, and it fails, guess whose fault it is? It's yours. And I can no longer defend you because it's not on the players, because you didn't use your 5 best players. You tried to be cute, and it didn't work. And instead of recognizing early on, as we all did, that, hey, Jamal Murray is still torching the Lakers. It is not working. You put in D'Angelo Russell. Now, would D'Angelo Russell have stopped and slowed down Jamal Murray? No, he wouldn't have. But it would have given you another offensive threat and another good, your best shooter, another playmaker, another guy that you can run, put the ball in his hands and trust his decisions and his ability to score the basketball to maybe offset that Jamal Murray takeover and the Jokic takeover. And early on, it was like, okay, LeBron and Reeves are spamming and it's working. And then eventually it didn't work. And it was like, what else do we do now? If you would have had D'Angelo Russell in the game, you could have given the ball to D'Lo, allowed him to run some pick and roll actions, get to his spot, try to go get some buckets, hit some shots. He's been great in big moments. He's been great in clutch moments. He's been great at just hitting key shots when you need him to hit key shots. And instead, you thought you were the smartest guy in the room. And guess what? You lost because of it. And it's those kind of things that are incredibly frustrating. Now, it's the lack of understanding. And look, I know many people are screaming for Darvin Ham to be fired right now. I believe he should be fired too. I don't think the Lakers should stick with Darvin Ham. I just don't think he's the coach we need him to be. Can he get there? Sure, right? Lots of coaches had to start somewhere. Problem is, we're not in that, we're a young rebuilding team that can kind of deal with the coaching hiccups and you might as well stick with the coach and see what he can eventually become. No, we need to win now because all of our guys are win now mode, right? We don't have a 27-year-old LeBron, even 27-year-old LeBron, you're probably still in win now mode, but you get my point, right? We're not this young rebuilding team where it's stick with the young coach, let him kind of go through his hiccups like the team does, and then you kind of let them grow, develop, blossom into their own things. And then there you go. But one, Darvin Ham's not going to get fired this season. There's only 20 games left. They're not firing the head coach. There was even a report from Anthony Irwin where he talked about how like this March is and basically March, because that's the bulk of the final games here. Basically, this season will dictate what happens with Darvin Ham in the offseason, whether he sticks with the Lakers or he ends up being fired in the offseason. I think ultimately he's going to get fired in the offseason. Look, can the Lakers beat anybody outside of Denver? Right? Yes, I believe that they can. If they finish in the 9th or 10th seed, I think it's pretty much a wrap. Now, can the Lakers get into the postseason? Sure. It's just really tough because you're playing 2 extra games. Right? My thing is, I trust the Lakers if they get to the postseason. One, Darvin Ham has been better in playoff situations, which I actually think the reason for that is because it's more simple, right? When you get into a playoff series, you're trying to shorten and simplify everything, right? Your rotation isn't as heavy. The overall game plan and structure, especially with like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, isn't as healthy. Like, why does Darvin Ham look good in like the in-season tournament and last year's playoffs compared to last year's regular season and this year's regular season? Because he simplified everything. It was very simple, right? Like LeBron and AD on the block, everything flows through them. There's your offense, defense, you lock in, you have your defense scheme and stuff. Okay, fine, right? So I think Darvin Ham is able to do a better job in the postseason because you're not making as many adjustments in game as you are game to game, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, let's throw this out there. Okay, that didn't work. Next game, let's change that up. Rather than like again, everything's kind of like in the moment now, simplified. So I think that's why Darvin Ham's able to have a little more success. And then also we've seen that this team can kind of elevate their play. They're more locked in, more focused in what they feel is a high-stake game rather than just a regular season game. Plus, Lakers have a lot of guys on the roster where just their history shows like they're just better in the postseason. So I think if we get to the playoffs, we actually have a real shot. I just don't necessarily trust this team to get to the playoffs is the problem. But look, if they get there, I'll take my chances. Thing is, though, is like if Darvin Ham gets to the conference finals again, do the Lakers fire him? Right? Like, let's say we get to the conference finals. Let's say we play Denver again in the conference finals and we just lose to Denver. Right? Do the Lakers look at it and go, oh man, we lost twice now in the conference finals to Denver. Darvin Ham, we need to get rid of him, upgrade the coach, and try to build a better team? Or do they look at it as like Darvin Ham led us to the conference finals twice? If we can build the team that can beat Denver, we'll win a championship with Darvin Ham. Right? It just depends on how they look at it. Or like, what if they go to the finals? Or what if they win? Right? Like, then Darvin Ham's probably not going anywhere. If the Lakers end up like a first-round exit or they miss the postseason entirely, then I think Darvin Ham is gone. I think it's just going to dictate how do the Lakers perform the rest of the way. And that's basically what the reports that have came out have been saying. I've been preaching it all season long. Like, the Lakers aren't going to fire Darvin Ham this year. And now you're past the point where it makes sense. But we need Darvin Ham to be better, is what it really boils down to. And I just don't trust him to be. I just don't think he is currently a championship level coach. Again, could at some point he get there? Sure. Right? Many coaches start the same way. Many coaches even Eric Spoelstra, LeBron and the Heat and everybody wanted him gone because they thought he was terrible. And guess what? Now he's looked at as one of the best basketball minds and one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the entire league. And he had his struggles early on, his first couple of years. But Pat Riley said, no, we're sticking with him. He's your coach. Figure it out. And now look at Pat Riley. Right? Guys start somewhere. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Everyone's got to kind of, go through their lumps, their learning process, all of that. But again, the Lakers just aren't the team for that. If he was in Detroit, right? Like, if I was a Detroit fan, I'd be like, no, let's see what he can do a couple years from. Like, the Detroit isn't winning anything in the next year or 2, 3 years. So let Darvin Ham run his course through his contract and see what he does and see if he's worth keeping it. But we're not the Pistons, right? We have LeBron James and Anthony Davis and D'Angelo Russell playing out of his mind. We have a very good basketball team. I think we are much better than our record. I get the whole, you are what your record is to an extent. I think a lot of it is just the Lakers. I think it's, if you had like a pie chart, it's like, okay, you have, 1 part energy, 1 part lack of effort, 1 part injuries, 1 part Darvin Ham, right? Like, I think it's just like a combination of things that has led to us being so bad. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were 5 games over 500, just won the in-season tournament, and looked like a team that was going to be at bare minimum a top 4 seed in the West and a real true contender. I mean, it really wasn't that long ago that was the conversation, that everyone was like, oh, Lakers just won the in-season tournament. Lakers are a real championship team. This proves it. Like, Lakers are off to the races. They're 5 games over 500. They'll probably be, finish in the top 4, maybe top 3, and all will be right. And then they just sunk faster than a rock, and just boom, they just got laxed and just stopped caring so much. But you saw it early on, and I don't know. I think a lot of it is just Darvin Ham trying to be the smartest guy in the room. And I just think he needs to simplify it, keep it simple, do things the right way. Most of the time, the obvious answer is the correct answer. And I think Darvin Ham will be serviceable the rest of the way. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts on Darvin Ham? What are your thoughts on Lakers this season? What are your thoughts on Darvin Ham the rest of the way with the Lakers? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.